According to the North Carolina Association of Educators, pay for teachers in North Carolina is about $9,000 below the national average, with the average teacher in the state earning approximately $50,000 a year. Annual per pupil funding is $2,400 below the national average.
This statistic might seem surprising to you, unless, of course, you're a North Carolina teacher, in which case, this is your reality: low wages and minimum funding for your students. In response, on May 16, 2018, 20,000 North Carolina teachers marched in protest on Capitol Hill in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, we can hope that things are going to change, but if we look at the history of North Carolina's state government, whether it be Democrats or Republicans, they are going to continue to slash funds to education in favor of tax cuts to corporations and the top 1%. So I would like to present with you all today an alternative, and that is teaching ESL abroad. Let's hear from a few American teachers about their experiences working here in China. Meet Jenny Lau, who worked for 6 years at Chester W. Nimitz Middle School in the Los Angeles Unified School District before going on to pursue a master's degree. After receiving her degree, she went back to her former school, but new leadership made life difficult for teachers. She then came to China 2 years ago and has worked at Dongsai University since then. This fall, she will move down to Shenzhen to work at an American international school. What do you think is the biggest difference between teaching in the U.S. and China?
The difference between teaching here and in the U.S., especially in the Los Angeles Unified School District, Inner City Schools District, is that it's much less stressful. There's time to do things and take care of yourself. For example, I've lost about 45 pounds here in China. I think a big part of it is having time to eat lunch. Back in the States, I only had 30 minutes to eat lunch, and so I would choose my meals, my frozen dinners, frozen lunches, not according to the food I like to eat, but looking at the back of the box and seeing how much time, how many minutes it takes to heat up that frozen lunch. And in addition to the little time, you're eating processed foods, which is full of sodium and sugar. Here, I have the time to have an hour and a half to go home and either cook myself something or actually sit down and eat and talk to friends. I think stress is a big deal that makes you gain weight and affects your mental health in addition to the physical health.
How has teaching abroad helped you develop your career as an educator?
It's led to my next position at an international school. So if K through 12 educators are thinking of working abroad, there's a whole community of international schools out there who are looking for educators in K through 12. But having had this experience here at a university here in Dalian has made it so that I have another set of knowledge of having lived abroad that is leading to my next position at an international school, with all the benefits and all the great, amazing things of teaching at an international school. In terms of a pedagogical skill and a personal skill set as an educator, I think finding that the students respond differently than students in the U.S. do to the strategies, the toolbox that all teachers have in terms of teaching, and seeing how the ESL skills that I do have play out in ways that improve the listening, speaking, reading, writing abilities of my students here in China. It's definitely enriched my experience, even though I feel like I've had plenty of experience teaching in the U.S. from middle school through adjuncting and the college level in the U.S. I think being able to work full-time at a university here has been amazing, and it changes. Of course, every year as educators we learn all kinds of different things, but it's another thing on top of it's another kind of leap forward in terms of the experience that I have now.
Would you recommend teaching ESL abroad for teachers back home?
Okay, so should you go teach abroad? Definitely. First of all, I think everybody should go abroad. If you're in college, you should go study abroad. It changes your life forever. It is transformative in ways that you can't explain unless you experience it yourself. Studying abroad, you learn not only the usual culture and different history, different people, different ways of living, but you also learn about yourself and find out what are your thresholds, what are the challenges that you can overcome, and you learn about not just your inner self, but also how you portray yourself to others. You find yourself as a representative of your home country, but also talking to people and learning about how they are and how they represent themselves to you. So definitely going abroad in general, studying abroad when you're in college, and you have that time and that possibility to learn yourself as a student. But teaching abroad, working abroad is a whole other level, where you figure out how you can not only accept what's given to you, but create in another entirely different atmosphere, entirely different environment. So you, again, on another entirely different level, learn more about yourself and what your priorities are, and just what is it that you as a person can add to the world. I think learning all these different cultures and learning all these different ways of living broadens your horizons in ways that staying at home could never provide. And in the end, I think if more people were to go abroad, live abroad, and feel what it's like to be a guest in another country, as well as create and give to this other country, will make the world a better place.
Meet V. Marcel, who was an entrepreneur and business owner for the first 20 years of her career, before shifting gears and becoming a teacher in Eugene, Oregon at the Eugene Independent School District. For the last 6 years, she has taught here in China, the first 2 away at Normal University and the last 4 at Dongsai University here in Dalian. This fall, she will be moving to Uzbekistan as part of the English Language Fellows Program under the U.S. State Department to teach teachers.
What's the biggest difference between teaching in the U.S. and China?
The biggest difference is the students, because if you're teaching in the United States, your students are from the United States, and we both grew up in the same culture. So we can make obscure references to information, and it's easy for them to get it. We don't have to pay as much attention to our language as we do when you're abroad, or we're abroad. And what is different is I'm teaching in China right now, so I'm going to use Chinese students. They have 5,000 years of history and culture, 5,000 written years, much longer than that. But and their English is very limited, unless they're following up on their masters or upper degrees of any kind. But they just don't have the background we do, and we have to be much, much more aware of the language we use to reach them. Because if we use the language and techniques that we use to reach our students in America, it's not going to work. You have to figure out how to connect to that student in a classroom in China, and it takes a little bit of research, a little bit of conversation with other people, and getting to know your environment and its culture. And that's the biggest difference.
What have you enjoyed most about living in China?
What I've enjoyed most about living in China is everything, because it was a dream of mine to be here. And I'm really serious about that. It was a dream since I was a kid. I've had a fascination with China. But the most I've enjoyed here, the way I could label it, is surprises. Every day that I have been here during my 6 years, it has never been a day without surprises. So if we're recommending ESL experiences to people coming to China, let's say, don't come if you don't like surprises. If you're a control freak, it won't work for you at all to be in another country, because they do everything different here, and that's why I love it. I love surprises, and I've learned from most surprises to do or not do something the same way. So it's surprises.
Would you recommend teaching ESL abroad to teachers back home?
Before I came abroad to teach, and it was a dream of mine to do this, to be an ESL teacher in a foreign country, I would have said yes immediately, just with no explanation. But after having done this for 6 years, I highly recommend an ESL experience abroad for teachers who are lifelong learners, who are curious people, who are brave, and who are reflective in their life and in their teaching practices. And so lifelong learning, you will go crazy in another country because you have to learn about your students, you have to learn about the culture. It's a whole new environment. It just feeds your brain, and it's a good thing for you. Curious will serve you well here, because everything in China specifically is different than anything you've been told in America, even by people who have been here, because by the time you get over here, it will have all changed. Brave, because this is like, I came to China because I grew up being a science fiction fan, and this is the closest I can get to being off planet without actually going off planet. It is so drastically different here. Food, way of thinking, relationship with time, the way they learn. So it's amazing. And reflective, why reflective? Because you have to assume when you're coming to another country that what has worked for you in the past may not work here. So you need to be able and have a practice of going home and going, did that work? If it worked, why did it work? Write it down. If it didn't work, why didn't it work? When you go to the bank to try to get your money out or set up an account, you need to go home and find out, why did that take 4 hours? You know, what can I do different? Next time I go to the bank, I'm going to be very calm and smile the entire time, and I'll get out of there much faster. So you have to be ready for an experience to be an ESL teacher. It's not just getting some skill. You have to be up for an adventure, and I highly recommend it for anybody who's up for an adventure.
I hope you've enjoyed today hearing these stories from Jenny and V. And if you'd like to teach abroad, I've provided a link below to Dave's ESL Cafe, where you can find available positions all throughout Asia. And don't forget, no matter where you are this November, don't forget to practice your constitutional rights by voting. Have a nice day.